In early 2024, journalist Andrea Butcher went missing in the town of Oro, New Mexico, and in response, a search and rescue team was sent to locate and recover her. Miss Butcher was documenting the strange phenomena taking place in the town after the establishment of the Ouroboros Corporation headquarters and infrastructure. Ouroboros is a multifaceted company that operates in two markets: food, namely the hyper-processed variety, and medicine, namely organ and drug research. Of the 3 members that made up the recovery team, none returned from the expedition. After losing contact with the search and rescue team, the authorities of the state of New Mexico decided to contact the FBI, who subsequently sent in a specialist. The specialist, Agent Silverstein, was equipped with a dossier brief of everything that happened and was discovered in the last endeavor to Oro, New Mexico: a silenced pistol with 6 rounds and a second ammunition magazine, and a walkie-talkie, which connected him to an extraction squad on the outskirts of town. He was instructed to camp out inside and search the town for the missing people. The agent was told to ignore any facilities that had already been explored and head straight for the area in which the incident occurred. From there, he was instructed to follow and report any traces of evidence that could shed light on what happened during and after the last moments of communication between the team and headquarters. August 2nd, 2024. 11 p.m., Agent Silverstein approaches the outskirts of Oro, New Mexico, and begins making his way to the last known location of the MIA search and rescue team. Upon arrival, Silverstein noted that there was sign of a struggle. Patches of the desert sand were stained a rusty brown hue in a pattern that resembled a splatter. From one of these splatters led a trail of smaller drips leading to a cul-de-sac of 5 identical, small 1-story ranch houses. The trail of blood stopped at the mouth of the little village. Seeing this, Agent Silverstein decided to sweep the cul-de-sac from right to left. Entering the first home, I noted that not only was it unlocked, there was no lock on the door to begin with. Taking great care not to make a sound, I cleared each room, noticing that I was alone in the house. The first thing that hit me was the smell. I had to stop myself from gagging when I first entered in case there was an occupant. The place reeked of excreted waste and rotting food. House was not the right word for the place I was in. From the outside, it was designed to look like a house, but from the inside, it looked more like where a horse might sleep. The floors were dirt, with hay and sawdust caked over the top. The structure itself had 3 rooms: an entry room/hall that connected them all, a sleeping quarters, and a bathroom. The sleeping quarters were more of a closet containing a large wooden box filled with hay, and the bathroom was just a small tiled room with a singular appliance that resembled a combination between an industrial toilet and a trough sink. Other than the fixtures I described, there were no other furnishings in this dwelling. After noting all I could find about the building, I moved on to the second house. The second barn was identical to the first. I approached the front door and opened it. The door creaked, followed by a squeal. The squeal got louder, dangerously close to a volume that would carry for some distance and possibly alert whatever the fuck lived in these things. I pushed open the door and was face to face with something that dwarfed me. Sunken eyes, thick, leathery skin. It hulked over me, breathing a rotten breath that I could smell from across the room. It squealed even louder and lurched for my neck. I fired all 6 rounds into it, and it collapsed in a heap in front of me. The momentum with which it was moving carried its dead body far enough that it almost knocked me over. I stepped over the colossal body and began to clear the rest of the house. All the houses smelled like death, but this one much more so, and it had a particular reason why. I opened the door to the bathroom, and on the floor were 2 bodies, one stacked on top of the other. The arms and legs of each were crushed. Bones must have been nothing but fragments at this point. The faces were caved in, and all identifiable structures had been chewed off. Several other areas of the body showed signs of consumption. Although the remains were in such a mangled state that the identities of the individuals could not be discerned at first glance, cursory search of each body confirmed these to be the agents of the search and rescue team. 2 of them, anyway. I cleared the rest of the house, barricaded the door with the bed box, and began studying whatever the hell I just killed. It was substantially fatter than any man I'd seen, but carried a lot more muscle too. The legs were thick and stocky, and even with both hands I couldn't fit my fingers completely around the creature's wrists. The beast's face was elongated, ending in a pronounced ovaloid snout. The mouth had a thick, slimy tongue, and after counting, I noticed that it had 44 teeth, rather than the average man's 32. The brain case looked substantially smaller than the average humans as well. The only problem with the monster theory being that this thing had the remains of clothes and a name tag stapled on the torn up shirt. Seeing as this dwelling was no longer occupied, and I had done 2/3 of the job already, after studying the creature, I set a vibration alarm for 5 a.m. before sleeping. A quick pattern of buzzes between my chest and the floor stirred me. 5 a.m. I rose to my feet to see the town still largely asleep. In around 20 minutes, the residents began to stir. Each one of them exited their house and absent-mindedly trudged towards a green warehouse building with red neon lighting. Oro Diner. One even stumbled out of the first home I examined. Luckily, it didn't decide it was bedtime while I was exploring. I waited for the entirety of them in my line of sight to be inside before reporting that I was going inside to get more data. I slowly made my way to the large building, taking care to be unseen, and slipped in through an industrial vent on the side of the warehouse. I crawled through the ducts, looking for a vent I could get a look inside the compound with. The entire building reeked of wet dog food, even leaking into the vents. I saw a light around 15 feet down the vent. As I got closer, the smell intensified greatly, and I began to hear a wet, sloshing, squishing noise. Chewing. Even from 10 feet away from the opening, a cacophonous chorus of wet, breathy eating echoed into the vents. As I got closer, the sounds only got louder, more visceral, like it was wetting the inside of my ears. My eyes reached the slits that let the light in, the sound at this point overwhelming, moist mastication pressing hard outward against the inside of my skull. This place was more an industrial mess hall than a diner. The colors inside, nauseating. A puke green wall paint with rows upon rows of bright piss yellow stained cushions. The tiles were stained with various reds, greens, browns, and yellows, but certain patches showed that they were once white. Filling the booths completely were those things, completely transfixed with the monotonous action of filling their maws with their heaping plates of red viscous slop. There were more bodies than booths. They just kept piling in. I had to stifle myself from vomiting. I thought the fucking houses were bad. I retched and clasped my hands over my face, attempting to make an airtight seal. My mouth was full. I retched again and it began to drip through my fingers slowly. I needed to get out of here or I would make my presence known with my sickness leaking through the vent. I shimmied back down and emptied my digestive system outside. We know where they get their food now, if you could call it that, other than the search and rescue squads. Despite how much I pleaded with dispatch, I couldn't leave yet. There was one man unattended for, until I could 100% prove that this guy's face was turning to shit in one of those behemoth's guts. I was trapped with them. Out of concern for my sanity, I decided I had all the info I needed about the mess hall and decided to explore the rest of the cul-de-sac while they were occupied. The small village was cleared and confirmed empty of all missing within the next hour, and I made my way deeper into the town, towards the guarded warehouse facility that lay at the center. This facility was much larger than any other, and had a cube protrusion in the middle of it with a large curtain window. As I looked at the window, it was suddenly pulled to the side, and I saw the unmistakable glint of an eye staring right into mine. The curtain reeled shut. I immediately heard a stampeding, squealing crowd approaching rapidly behind me. I was able to shut myself in a house, but they're looking for me. If you like this video and want to see more of the Ouroboros Farms, make sure to like, comment, subscribe with all notifications enabled, or I'll turn you into a pig man. I want to thank Dead Rex for drawing these spooky critters. Shout out the Inner Circle. Love y'all. I'm honestly not sure how they fit the whole thing in there. Or what happened to them after, for that matter. You'd think something of that size going in there would cause some sort of injury, but...
You two know what you want?
I'll go, roasted snallygaster and a double shot of adrenochrome. Amoeba?
Can I get waffles, Az?
After that little idea you had back there, you can get whatever you want.